Welcome back to the Mud Shop. This is Diana's Mud Shop. Today, I just did a little time-lapse video on rolling out the clay. So check that out. I should upload it before this one comes up. So check that out and you'll see how I roll my clay out. This is Stoneware standard brand 240 white clay that I'm using. And today I am going to show you how to make a divided dish. Okay, now this is what I've got made. Here's the back. Now I saw this made by Jeff from GR Pottery Forms a year or two ago, and what he did, he has forms and he took his GR Pottery Forms and he made a divided dish out of it. But I only have one form. So what I did, I took my one form and I draped my clay over it, trimmed it with the edge, no lip. I made several of them, no texture, just plain, no feet, just use this form, and I bisfired it. And I made these. So this is what I'm going to use to make my divided dish. Now you can take any shape. I've done it with squares. This is a rounded rectangle that I'm going to use today. But you can use squares, you can use rectangles, you can use anything that you want to put together to form whatever size dish you want. Now, all you really need is a wear board and your forms. You can take your board and you can lay your forms out however you want to fix them, however you want your dish to look, and just drape the clay over it. But today I'm going to show you how to make the one that I have here, and I used a rim template for it. So to make the outside edge, kind of looks like hearts, and I think because it's close to Valentine's Day, this one I'm going to do in red, so I also want this one to be shaped like this. So I have checked out different size because I like just a little bit of a lip. I don't like a big lip on my dishes because then it takes up more room in the cabinets. So you can use, now this fits perfectly on a 12.5 inch. So you can use any shape. GR Pottery Forms does sell these, but I'm not going to use one of his. I'm going to use another one that's just cut out of wood that has a different shape on it. This one has, you can see it's more of like a flower. This one is like a flower, but it makes this shape. So this is the one I'm going to use today. And you don't have to have that. You can just lay your forms on the wear board if you'd like. You just lay them out how you want them and then drape the clay over. But I'm going to use one of these. So I'm going to get a rounded wear board, and I've got one right here. Okay, and I'm going to lay my form on this. I'm going to put these how I want them together. Now I made several of them. I won't use all of them today. I'm going to line them up just like I want them. I believe I can use 5. That's what I did on the other one. So there we go. I got them right there. Now, so this is what my form is going to look like. See if I can get a better look. There we go. All right, let me get them lined up just like I want them. I don't want them all the way to the edge, but just a little bit from it, and kind of center them. Okay. There we go. Now you can see a little better. All right, now I'm going to set this to the side. It is ready for the clay to drape on. Now, I rolled out my clay to 3/8 of an inch. That's just a little shy of a 1/2 inch because I'm making a bigger platter and I don't want it to warp. I'm going to roll it a little thicker. Make sure it's compressed. I'm going to compress it on both sides. Now I had a little bit of reclaimed clay in the top of my bag. So when I wedge them together and rolled it together, I've got just a little bit of air bubbles, but they're popping nicely and smoothing out just perfect. You're gonna make sure that all those are gone. When you smooth it out, you don't see any air bubbles. Okay, now I'm carefully gonna flip my clay over. I don't want to twerk my clay. Let me angle this down a little more where you can see better. I'm recording this one on my phone. I've been using my iPad, but didn't bring my holder today, so you're on the phone today. Anyway, I'm gonna make sure it's smooth, both sides. And I'm gonna do something different on this tray than I did the last one. I like texture on them because it does just enhance the glaze a little bit. On this one, I used Georgie's Interactive Pigments and then just wiped back and then just covered it in a clear glaze. And I did the texture on the front, and it's gorgeous texture. But the back is a little plain. So today, I want to try to do texture on the front and the back. And I'll show you how to do that. Now, this one was a rolling pin, a texture roller. Today, I'm going to use placemats. And don't ask me what the pattern is on it. It's just some that I picked up years ago somewhere, either Walmart or Hobby Lobby or any kind of craft store. You can find them just about anywhere. And I'm going to put one of them on the bottom underneath my clay. So I'm going to lift this up. Put it under the clay. And that'll be the texture on one side. Now I'm going to compress again. Well, this clay is really, really wet today. It's cool. It's cool in the shop. We've had rain, and more rain. Okay, now I can kind of tell where that's at. I want to line this other one on top of it. But before I do, I know I want to put my maker's stamp on it. And so my maker's stamp, if I stamp it now and then put the texture in, it's going to cover the stamp. So what I want to do is put this little blank right here in the center. And when I roll all this out, then it'll leave me a spot to put my maker's mark on it. Okay, so let's do that now. I'm going to use my little pony roller to roll in this texture. And you can tell when it's in good enough to give you texture because you can see the clay kind of coming up through the little holes in it. You don't want to mash it where there's no clay left in between the two texture to make your platter, but you want it a good impression all the way around it. Make sure the center is rolled too. Even though we want the blank on this side, I want texture on the underside. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take my knife and cut away a lot of the excess. I'm not going to crush it because I'm going to make sure that if I want to put a foot on it, I can. That's something I did not do with the other one. I left it flat on the bottom, you see, and it works fine that way. But you can put feet on it if you would like to. So, all right. I'll put this on my slab roller out of the way. Let this little piece join it. Okay. Now, I want to, remember this is going to be the bottom, so I'm going to peel this one up. You see? All right, and I'm going to peel this little piece off. This is my little blank, and you see it made a blank spot in the middle. And here's where I'm going to take my maker's mark, put it right here. All right. Now I want to flip it over onto my wear board. Let's see. Well, I need to flip it over and get the other texture off of it first. So let's do that. Carefully pull this texture off. Right. There we go. Now we have texture on the front and the back. All right. Now, I'm going to slide this over this way a little bit, get you back in view of the camera. And I'm going to flip this over carefully, check and make sure my forms are back where I want them. Line this one up and this one up. Okay. Perfect. All right, now I'm just going to flip this over on top. All right. Now, in order to get these down in the recessed areas, I'm going to lift my clay slightly as I'm pushing down in it. And then press it, I'm pressing in towards the form. You don't want to push away, because when you push away it thins out your clay. Don't want it to thin it out, because that's where you get your cracking from. Now, because I have texture on the bottom, I don't need to use my rib. I'm going to use my fingers. Now, you could put these on top of a form. If you look here, I have lots of forms. You could put them on a round form and then have your template under the round form, and that would give you a deeper bowl, which I have made some, but I just like the shallow bowls. They're wonderful for using on a buffet table to serve. Okay, now I have the front and back done. The texture, I'm going along this edge here to make sure, since I can't use a rib on it, that this clay is conformed around this form. And then I can feel my rim template under it. Now's when you can decide if you do want a lip around it. You just cut it wider. I am going to cut some of this excess off. I can see where my rim template is, and I'm just going to cut some of this excess off, because I'm going to use a slingshot tool. This I'll wedge up with the rest that I have over here. Wedge it up and roll it back out again. Alright. Okay, so this is what we have now. I'll hold it closer so you can see. If you look, you could see the rim template under it. Alright, now I'm gonna, normally I would let this set a little bit, and then I take my slingshot tool and I trim around the edge, but for sake of the video, I want to show you how I use the slingshot tool. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Make sure that you lift it by the rim template. Okay. See, I'm holding the rim template. And I'm going to use my slingshot tool, and I'm just going to glide it around. I see I need to trim a little bit more. Let me trim it a little closer. Some more of this excess off here. You could trim it with the slingshot tool and then trim it again, but I just cut a little more off with a knife and then make it easier. All right. So again, lift this up. Now, slingshot tool, this is a Dirty Girl slingshot tool. It's just a wire tool, actually. So you could make one of these, just tie your wire, or if you have something like this, this also would work to bring around the edge. But you just let it ride along the edge of the rim template. Okay, and again, I'll wedge this extra clay up with my scraps to redo. I'm going to take a damp sponge and I'm just going to smooth down these edges. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I can press real well where this goes in each one of these little grooves, because I don't want cracking, and that's where the crack would be if it was to crack. It's where your clay comes into a point and it just wants to keep going, so it just pulls more on it, and that is a vulnerable area. So you do want to make sure that it's compressed real well in those areas. You want to make sure that it's really smooth there. Especially since you have texture on the bottom, there's not a lot of cleaning that you can do on it. So smoothing with your fingers is really the best thing to do. Okay. All right, and that's about it. Now I'll wait. I will not flip this over until it gets close to leather hard, because these are bisque pieces. They're not going to stick to it. It's going to, as it dries, it's going to rise up off of these, and because the rim template is wood, it won't stick to it. So as the clay dries, it'll release itself. Then I can flip it over, take my forms out, and have my dish. And for the sake of the video, okay, I am going to flip this up and show you. Once I lift this up, see, you have your dish here. Now we'll need to trim around these edges after it is set, but like I say, it's better to wait till it's leather hard. Then you can clean up the inside. These will lift up very easily. See, and then you have your divided dish with the texture inside and out. Okay, so I'm going to leave these in here, and I'm going to flip it back over. This back on it. This lined up. Flip it back over. And I'll leave it on this square board and let it dry a little bit. Then I'll take it off and clean it up. And there you go. When you get done, bisque fire it, glaze it like you want. Make whatever style, size you want. You can make a big divided dish. You can make lunchroom trays like this. Just if you don't have a form, make a form. They were really easy to make. Remember, I took one of these and I made these bisque forms enough that I can make a large platter. So you could use 4 on there, you could use 3 on there, however many you want. And just play with it and have fun. And again, I thank you for joining me in Dianna's Mud Shop. Bye.